Hi guys. I wanted to do a little update on these two new locations that I've been coming to because I'm going to stop in this location and the other lake too because it's not far from here. And well, first let me describe. Well, let me go back and do a quick update. If you haven't been following along, I'm a little spooked, so I was hoping somebody would be here, but one of the rare times I was hoping someone would be here. Usually if I go somewhere hiking or whatever, I'd like to go during the week because I don't like to be around a lot of tourists and stuff. I live in a very touristy area because I'm in the Upper Peninsula and we're known for the lakes and boating and hunting and all that. So 3 springs ago, I found an active Sasquatch site. And another one a mile away from there. And this year I thought, well, I had thought about it for a while, trying to put recorders in new locations. So I finally did that because I know about these hidden lakes and they're not a secret, but they're not heavily traveled. And the shocking thing, and a little concerning to me, is not only the only 2 other places I tried where there's Sasquatch there, they were there right away. I had put glow sticks along the edge of the lake thinking, well, if they're here, they'd probably be the backside of the lake, maybe watching people from afar, but no. They were right there at the recorder right away. So they're here watching. And I don't want to scare people out of the woods because I still haven't seen one. But you just need to be aware of your surroundings. The main reason I'm doing this, besides it's freaking cool to hear these things and stuff, is to raise awareness. I don't make any money on this. I spend too much money. So anyway, I've been describing these areas as the larger lake and the smaller lake. I have to be vague on purpose. I don't know, I'm so out of breath. Let's walking up a hill. So this is the larger lake. It's quite a walk back here. And I'm pretty brave, but after the last recording, this is it for this spot. Not only was he there, he was right next to me. I can tell on the recorder, and I suspected that earlier, 1 or 2 recordings before that. And I'm sorry I don't have one of those camera gimbals or whatever they are to make it nice and smooth. You're just going to have to bounce along with me. And so I had decided, okay, I can't come back here anymore by myself. And what I do is I listen to the recordings, and I'll listen on fast forward until I hear something, and I make a lot of notes. And I had made this decision, and then I went back and listened closer, and what I thought was me talking out loud, which I do, makes me feel better, plus I know they're listening. Here's the lake. There was a spirit voice on my recorder again. That's happened in one of the other locations a few times. And this was right. I was close by, but it was like it was talking right into the recorder. So here's the lake. As you can see, there's I haven't walked around the back side because the woods are too thick, and I'm usually almost always by myself. In this side there's a few trees along, and then there's a wide open space. So I'll take you to the spot where I've been putting my recorder. It's a little thicker, so I thought nobody will find it there. Not likely anyways. Whoops. I'm a klutz, by the way. If there's something to trip over, I'll probably trip over it. So we're almost there. I have a few notes. Let me make sure I didn't leave anything out here. Yeah, the other thing that made me uncomfortable is we're right on the edge of this big lake, so it's kind of like half the way is blocked. Without me or it going in the lake, half the way is blocked. And so I didn't even want to come back here this time. And I don't go in the woods because even if it's sunny, it's black up in there. Almost there. I'm sure he's right here. He's been here every time. Okay, here's the rule, dude. If you're going to play invisible with me, you are not allowed to get next to me. In the name of Jesus. That's the rule. People say they got their own rules, and if you go looking for them, they come to your house. Well, I have my own rules. I don't agree with that. And I always pray up before I come out here. And I have a covenant relationship with God, so all the promises of the Bible belong to me. So I pray up, and I know I'm safe, but what concerns me is, here's my spot. I don't want to turn around and he's right there, and I have all that way to walk back to get to the road. So let's see what's going on here. Walking and talking at the same time makes me out of breath. Okay, he didn't touch the dice this time. He didn't touch the food either. Well, I forget what I left. I think there's an apple gone. Oh, there it is. Where's my recorder? Oh, there it is. There's my recorder. Isn't this a beautiful lake? I'm going to bend down and get my recorder here. I'm going to leave a few things. Only this time I'm not leaving a recorder because it's too close for comfort. So I'll shut this off and leave a few things and then hightail it out of here. Okay, all done. Now, I'm going to put the beginning of that recording on after this. I don't expect any major sounds. It's just subtle sounds, but it's definitely him. I want to describe when I left the recorder in the trees in here. I walked down here because I found a print down here. I wasn't going to walk back here again. I was just going to leave my stuff and go, but it's okay. So I walked down here to see if there were any new prints. It looked like he had stepped off into the lake, so I imagine he probably walked it, or he or they probably come this way often. This is where the print was. It was hard to make out, but I could make out the heel pretty good. Let's see. It was right down in here, and then he stepped off into the water, and then I walked up, and I put wild apples behind that tree, and I don't like being up by those woods, so I hurried up and come back down, and he had taken one of my recorders, so I was kind of looking around. Ironically, I was walking right back to him, and so I was looking around, and you can hear me laugh on the recorder because I realized I'm going to be wondering who's walking around. It's that Sasquatch. When I leave, I always say, okay, I'm leaving now. So I kind of poked my head in the brush here, made sure I was right next to the recorder, and he was right there. And I said, it's just me. And then, okay, I'm leaving now. That's my way of telling myself, anything after this is not me. I'm leaving, so any sounds after that is not me. And then I got those spirit voices on the recorder again. So, I'm done here for today. See ya, Squatchy. Lay down the law a little bit. You know, when you have a relationship with God, you have authority in the name of Jesus. And it's true whether you believe that or not. It's fine if you don't want to believe that. I don't try to force my beliefs on anybody. But I do have a right to have my own beliefs. And if I feel like people are doing something, they're ready to go off a cliff, I want to warn them. And then I'll leave it at that. But people get so offended if you just mention God or prayer or whatever. I'm just yakking away. I wasn't going to record the whole time back here. The way back here is quite a ways. I just don't feel right back here. So it really bums me out because this is very remote. The nearest house is miles away. And I was hopeful to get some yells and stuff. Let me show you a peek again. It's so beautiful back here. I wish I had somebody to come back here with me. Nobody I know is interested in this kind of thing. It seems like I'm all alone, but every single time, as soon as I leave, he's right there at the recorder, so I know he's there. I wonder what he thinks of me talking like this. Bye! And I'm not going to drive all this way just to go to the other lake. I got a lot of the usual sounds, if I can say it that way. But I haven't gotten any vocals or anything at the other lake, so I might leave a recorder closer to the road here and see what happens. But I'm not going to keep walking back here by myself. And it's too hard to try to figure out when someone else might be back here because they don't come back here very often. It's a beautiful day. The colors are already starting a little bit. See? It's supposed to be 44 degrees tonight. There's some more colors. It's just so beautiful back here. But Sasquatch and spirits. You know, I don't seek to interact with spirits. The Bible's very clear on that. I'm not sure if, well, I keep praying whether I should be interacting with Sasquatch or not. I feel like I'm doing something good to try to help raise awareness of these things. But as soon as God says no more, that's it. I'm done. So, back into the dark part. I don't like this part. I guess I'll shut the camera off now. I've never heard any sounds on this part besides a thump one time, so I think I can just shut it off. Thanks for watching. Go figure. Literally, as soon as I got back to the drive here, a couple walked back there. So I'm going to leave a recorder, a few little food things, and see what happens. Not very hopeful to get anything, but we'll see. This is the second lake. So beautiful. I was just going to pull the recorder out of here too, but since I left a recorder by the road at the other lake, I think I'll go ahead and leave another one, just one more time, and the next time I come back I'm just going to pull those ones out. That's the plan anyway. So I walk, when I get to this lake, I walk a ways down to the end here. I'm surprised how many trees are in the path. But that's true all along here, so it's not necessarily Bigfoot doing that. I left some wild apples here too, and they're all gone. Could have been a deer. And then I walked back here, and I left some crackers. Oh, some are still there. Yeah, they haven't been eating the food I'm leaving. I think that was something else, probably. And my recorder was way out here. So, yeah, I guess I'll leave one more recorder here. You know, I wouldn't try living in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for anything. Yeah, the winters are long, but the summers aren't as hot. And we don't get hurricanes. Don't usually get tornadoes in the UP either. So I will leave. I have an apple and some Pop-Tarts in the recorder. And I'm going to put that audio on the end of this one from the other lake that I was describing. See ya. It's just me. It's just me. Okay, I'm leaving now.
Thank you.